how, you know, it really takes nothing to make significant change in what we've just seen. It takes nothing. It took me $8,000 to liberate 3,000 people, you know, from dependency on waterborne diseases. You know, it's nothing. You don't have to give $8,000, but, you know, buying fair trade coffee is just a major statement. It's not like Darfur where we're screaming because we can't find what to do except for giving money to certain groups. We have nothing we can do. In this situation, this is a great depiction. You know, a simple act of conscious buying makes an incredible difference in people's lives. That very small amount of difference that we pay for fair trade coffee makes an incredibly meaningful difference, a difference between whether or not these folks can build a school. I also visited a couple of the schools that they were talking about building, because that was about 1.5 years ago, that are now built. And I've got them on film. I'm going to put them on YouTube next week, and you can look under Java Trekker on YouTube and you'll see these things. But it just doesn't take much to make significant change in people's lives. That's the real message. But it's the stuff, you know, I've been to every one of those places, and I know a lot of the people in that video, and it just breaks my heart, you know.
So
that Shelburne Falls Coffee Roasters refuses to buy fair trade coffee. That Rayo's refuses to buy fair trade coffee. And you talk to these people and you say, why? And they say, well, it really doesn't make a difference. They've never even been to a goddamn coffee village, any of these people, you know?
Are you serious?
I'm very serious. You can go to any,
Shelburne
go
Falls
to these
Coffee
people.
Roasters has one kind, and that's because the local people
Finally.
have asked for it.
Finally.
If we all keep asking for it,
One
even
kind
their
is not
employees
enough.
don't even know what it is. Yeah, but if we keep the pressure on, if somebody was saying, what can we do? There's nothing we can do. If we demand it, it will happen.
You know, it's not like people in the coffee industry don't know what's going on here. We all know about it. It's not a secret. The fact that, you know, people say to me, well, how can Starbucks do that? How can Shelburne Falls do that? And it's a 5-letter answer. Greed, pure and simple. People in the coffee industry make a lot of money off of coffee. They really, really do. And there's this bizarre thing in the coffee world. You saw it with Dr. Illy, who's a lovely old man. Dr. Illy's a multi-billionaire off paying nothing for that Ethiopian coffee and then telling the world that it's the most magnificent stuff in the world. Or the Starbucks people. We're about people. We change so many lives, you know? There's this, I don't know what's going on here. We all know about it. It's not a secret. The fact that, you know, people say to me, well, how can Starbucks do that? How can Shelburne Falls do that? And it's a 5-letter answer. Greed, pure and simple. People in the coffee industry make a lot of money off of coffee. They really, really do. And there's this bizarre thing in the coffee world. You saw it with Dr. Illy, who's a lovely old man. Dr. Illy's a multi-billionaire off paying nothing for that Ethiopian coffee and then telling the world that it's the most magnificent stuff in the world. Or the Starbucks people. We're about people. We change so many lives, you know? There's this incredible psychology in the coffee world of denial and fantasy, and it really doesn't take much to pierce it. But people don't like to be reminded of how horrible the reaction to the results of their behaviors are. So I talk to the people at Starbucks, and they get furious because they take it as a personal insult. And I say, well, why don't you just buy more fair trade coffee? Why don't you pay a few pennies more? It wouldn't hurt you guys one bit. They say, we're doing more than that. We have the Starbucks Cafe program. We have our own version. It's better than fair trade. No, it isn't. The farmers have to pay to participate in it. It's based on the C market price. The Starbucks program is a 10-point system. If the farmers get all the points, they get as much as 10 cents more per pound. But what they don't tell you is it's based on the C, which is about 40 cents less than the fair trade price. So even if any farmer got all 10 points, and there's not a single farmer in the cafe program that does, they're only getting a few cents based on a lower price. But Starbucks employees, they say we've got the best company in the world, we treat the farmers better than anybody, we've got the cafe program. It's the emperor's new clothes. You know, it's the most amazing psychology.
I'm sorry. I was going to call on him and then if y'all...
Just two quick questions, well maybe not quick, but the schools that they were building.
Yeah.
First question is how much money did it cost them to put up the school? He said the well was like $8,000. How much was the school? And the other question was, we saw Ethiopia. Coffee grown around the world. Can you talk about how the impact of the story of Ethiopia reflects on Central and South America?
Oh, God, I can talk about 12 countries I work in. It's the same story. It's the exact same story. The school, it costs about $5,000. And that includes paying the labor of the villagers to build the school, which is a good thing. you know? But building a school is only building a school. You need a teacher, you need a blackboard. You saw that thing, you know? I mean, that was a piece of old cardboard from some packing crate that was being used as a blackboard. When I was in November, when we celebrated one of the fair trade schools, it was a beautiful thing. There were about 100 kids in there. It was the third grade. There were about 100 kids in there, and in the back row it was all 15, 16-year-olds. And I was like, well, you know, what are they doing there? And they said they've never gotten any schooling. We don't do it by age, we do it by knowledge. And those guys back there have never been to school. And I thought, well, this is a beautiful thing. And people were singing and doing things. We were doing math on the blackboard. And then I looked out the window, and I saw maybe 500 kids who weren't in school. So even with this fair trade, you know, we are nothing but a spit in the ocean here. You know, there's so much more to do, and one of the problems I have with a lot of people involved in fair trade is that when they don't actively work, I'm an activist, I work in these places, coffee's just a vehicle for me. A lot of coffee people who do the fair trade thing, and they say, well, that's all I have to do. I've got one coffee now. You know, we got Costa Rican, Mexican, and fair trade, as if it's a type of a coffee, as opposed to an ethical underpinning, you know. And by doing that, by segmenting fair trade, say, well, I'm done with it, they condemn the rest of those 500 kids never to be in school. And that's what I always say to Starbucks is like, you're 3% now, maybe 4% fair trade, so you've got a room of 100 farmers, and you say, okay, you, and you, we're going to treat you a little better. The rest of you 96, get out. You know, it's based on this sea market, this trading thing, so it's cyclical. And secondarily, the overwhelming majority of coffee in the world is bought at prices C or lower. The Harar coffee, the sun-dried coffee that I think Dr. Illy was saying, Harar, sun-dried, this is the most beautiful coffee in the world. Sun-dried gets C minus 20 cents.
Why? That's an interesting question.
Why? Because they can. Because the power of the market, which they put in this whole WTO thing, and it was like really off the topic, but the point of it was that the big boys control the market. And if the C market people go in there and say, hey, we're not paying you the money, then they don't pay the money.
I understand that, but what are the other grades? C,
Yeah.
what
What
are
is
they?
that?
No, C's not a
C.
grade.
What is
C
C?
means the commodity price for
Commodity.
coffee. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The New York C price means the New York coffee commodity price.
For Arabica?
Arabica, yeah, and in London it's set for Robusta.
Okay.
Yeah. But the Harar price is always lower because it's sun-dried. Sun-dried, which Starbucks was just charging $13 a pound for, sun-dried coffee is considered a lower quality coffee. The only reason it's sun-dried is they ain't got no water. Harar is in the middle of a terrible drought. The farmers don't have water to process the coffee, to soak it for 3 days like they do in other places. They have to dry it in the sun like raisins, and then they strip off the shell, and that's sun-dried coffee. It's known as poor man's coffee, even in the coffee countries. So for Starbucks to buy poor man's coffee at 20 cents below the sea market price, when we pay about double the sea market price, about 80 cents above the sea market price, you know, that shows you the spread. It's sinister for them to charge that kind of money when what they're paying is this, and then say sun-dried. Basically, it's basically saying poverty is beautiful. It's marketing poverty. Most incredible thing going on. Is this knowledge anymore on what to grow? People have been commodified.
They need education.
Yeah,
Carl, did
we
you-
do that. We do a lot of that.
More than building schools, they need
The
agricultural
I
education.
want to mention the wheat
Tef.
that was
Yeah.
being brought in.
Oh, there are wheat, yeah.
That's our wheat.
Right, that's right.
That's more of our business.
Oh,
That's
totally.
right,
Uh,
that's right.
There was a piece on NPR tonight exposing how people are starving in various parts of the world because they have to wait on American wheat, which takes up to 6 months to get to them.
Well, and not only that, people
that's
don't eat wheat in Ethiopia. They eat teff, which is a separate grain that has so many complete amino acids. It's a really good food. But our government says, here's free wheat. So our free wheat undercuts the local market for teff, and so the farmers can't grow it and sell it in their own country. This is the story of American aid all over the world. It's the bread riots in Africa in the 70s. It's all the same stuff. So we flood it with our surplus wheat, which our government buys off the agribusiness at very good prices because it's surplus. Then takes it, puts it in the aid program, gives it for free to these countries, which destroys their local market's ability to pay for itself. It's a tragedy, but it looks good because we're giving them free wheat, but they don't eat wheat.